Hey everyone, I'm Charlotte and welcome to a nostalgia trip. We're doing Throwback Thursday. This is definitely not going to be a regular thing, but for today, let's have a bit of amusement. The reason I wanted to bring this to light is because it's good to appreciate what you've done before, even if it's extremely chaotic and sometimes you don't know what you're doing. I think moments like those really did help me to get to where I am today, because the more you work at something, the more you understand its nuances. I think I've mentioned that like way too many times, so I'm not going to go into that. But these pieces that you see on screen were the earliest times when I started to get the hang of using the brush that I was using, in the sense that this isn't too far behind from my current art style, right? And that's because of the brush that I use, and it's just a plain round brush. But identifying that I like the way it creates depth and layer helped to narrow down on the fact that, I'm going to use this as my dominant brush. I use 3 brushes, right? One is the sketch brush, obviously, and then the round brush, and then a stucco, I think, is the brush name. I will get back to you on that. But to narrow down on that was hard because previously I had a very illustrative kind of brush that I was using, and that gave off a different vibe altogether. It was not like how it is right now. Because of that, in one sense, I did not know how to identify using color well, since that brush wasn't that suitable. Even so, whatever pieces were created during that period was still really fun. But I think in an overall sense, it is more illustrative than painting style, if that makes sense. But yeah, and these pieces took really short time. I remember the first piece that you saw took like 20 minutes, and the previous piece again was 20 minutes. This one wouldn't have been more than 35 minutes. And also during this point was when I really narrowed down stylization and breaking down shapes. I didn't want to make anything too complex or too time consuming, and so I simplified stuff and I used to draw things. It was a very brief period, maybe for 1, 2 or 3 months I followed it, and then I went back to my over rendering, because by this time was when I realized, I like this brush, right? And then I loved the colors that I was using, and so I was getting familiar with that. But then after that, I wanted to get into refinement and making it a little bit more detailed, and then hyperfixation came. And now we focus on way too much detail. Actually, at this point, we don't draw that much, so that also is a struggle. It's not because of a lack of idea, but rather the lack of time. That is something that we are still learning to balance. But getting back to the ideal at hand, this was at the start of 2024, the previous piece and the piece that you see on screen. And it's been going steady, this brush and this style. And you see the contentment I have towards just simplifying it and working in, adding the depth of the colors. They were all very satisfying moments. I think in the initial stages of getting used to all of it was when I was relieved that, this is something that I like, finally. Took long enough. And so by this time was when, like, genuinely, I was glad to see everything slowly coming into place. But yeah, visible progress takes time, as we've already mentioned. I hope you guys have a lovely week. You can follow me at Charlotte_Pourquoi. Bye.